We tried many new things this past year in pursuit of spiritual and numerical growth. We reached out to the local community with our incredibly successful Ashes to Go event, which attracted substantial media attention. We also attempted to reach our neighbors through the blessing of the bikes, our Pride Sunday liturgy, the celebration of America's heroes, and our pet blessing. Although these did not garner a lot of attention from outside the parish, it was important for us to get into the habit of thinking creatively and making the attempt to invite our neighbors into our community. That word again, Carol Couch, invite, right? And it's important for us to remember that these sorts of activities are good for us within the parish as well, in order to acknowledge the lives and commitments of our current members, and sometimes just to have fun. And we have to continue to give ourselves permission to fail. This is really important, so that we never fear taking risks for the sake of the gospel. We're going to do some things that aren't going to pan out. We're going to take some risks that don't gain us new members or money or whatever, but it's still worth doing. It's still worth doing. A good example of that is when Deacon Doris and I started our ministry of presence at Starbucks in Countryside, and we didn't know what kind of reception we would get. We didn't know if people would tell us that we weren't allowed to proselytize and we had to move on. But we were welcomed really warmly, and it was worth the risk. And we've been able to provide a lot of prayer, comfort, and pastoral care to people in need. So that was a risk worth taking. We also experimented with liturgy and rediscovered many old traditions of the Western Church. They include the blessing of chalk on Epiphany, the blessing of candles and throats on Candlemas, which we will do next week, bearing the Alleluia before Lent, Stations of the Cross and benediction of the Blessed Sacrament during Lent, praying the Angelus on Marian Feast, Advent lessons and carols, plays enacting the story of St. Juan Diego for Our Lady of Guadalupe, and the story of the Nativity on Advent 4, and a lot more. We made the bold decision to move to one bilingual service in the summer and take the Mass outside in order to avoid our hot building and to learn to worship together more harmoniously. And I was just telling Alex this morning how amazing it is that you and Frank are able to work together so harmoniously, switching back and forth musically. And Deacon Doris said to me at the beginning of the service, there isn't one person out there in the congregation that is freaked out by what we are doing. I thought, that's true. Not every congregation would be able to do that. You should be proud of yourselves. It's a real achievement. And now, assisted by the purchase of bilingual editions of the Book of Common Prayer, St. Helena is becoming very proficient in worshiping bilingually, as we just saw. Learning. Innovation in 2018 was not limited to outreach and liturgy. St. Helena's has undergone great learning in the last year. We've made Herculean efforts to speak the truth about ourselves and our history, to model authenticity in preaching and other things, and to learn how to resolve differences in conflict with generosity. In April, St. Helena's held its first off-site retreat for the vestry at the Nicholas Center in downtown Chicago, where we discovered the critical importance of, what's the word? Invitation in growing our parish. And people have stepped up to the challenge and invited people. The clergy also did important continuing education. Doing the first year of the Diocesan College for Congregational Development program. And I also forgot, I went to the Evangelism Matters conference at the Bishop's invitation in March. And Deacon Doris going to California for the Episcopal Church's Latino Ministry Competency course. Our children and their parents put faith into action by participating in the March for Our Lives protest against gun violence in our schools on the day before Palm Sunday. Thanks to an evangelism grant from the Episcopal Church, we designed and implemented our innovative Christian formation program, Hogwarts Academy, based on the magical world of Harry Potter, that covered a wide range of topics in Christian faith and life in very imaginative ways. One of my absolute favorite memories was that potions class during which we made the chrism that Bishop Lee will consecrate at the altar when he visits on March 17th. And it's still brewing in the cabinet in there, folks. Don't forget to mix it. Perhaps one of the most challenging sources of learning have been around cultural differences. And I'm not talking about learning about Our Lady of Guadalupe or the English tradition of Advent lessons and carols, but the fundamental differences in values, taboos, boundaries, and behavioral norms that accounted in great measure for the tumultuous autumn that tore the congregation in two. I have been very pleased by my improvements in Spanish, but I'm also convinced that cultural competence goes so much beyond that. that there are deep-seated cultural differences that often go unspoken or unmanaged in a multicultural parish like ours. And we're not alone in that. This happens in all kinds of multicultural environments. One of the greatest lessons for me has been that we need to have realistic expectations of each other, to strike a fair and delicate balance between expecting people to adapt and change to new circumstances and to accept each other as we are in our uniqueness. One of the great maxims, the great sayings of Anglicanism is unity without uniformity, which I think is a wonderful thing. We bring different things to our life as the church, and those things are able to rest in tension with each other in one community of faith. Change. Change is a disruptive and painful process. But as Victor Conrado from the diocese observed late last year, congregations with histories like ours have to go through growing pains that bring with them anger, resentment, anxiety, and conflict in order to grow. Unless we confront the hard truths and work through our differences, we will never heal and get stronger. I am really sorry that you had to go through that. It wasn't pleasant for me either, I assure you. But I am so incredibly proud of all of you for weathering those growing pains and doing the necessary work. You should be so proud of yourselves. We are in a much stronger place now than we were in the summer and fall, and each of you has a part in that success. Each one of you. Thank you. Change has taken numerous forms. We've renegotiated boundaries for both clergy and lay leadership, have employed new leadership tools, have upgraded our accounting system for tracking and reporting our finances, and we're gifted with increased operational funding from the diocese and benefactors, all because they believe in us. They think we're worth investing in. We have made numerous enhancements to our physical plan, which are so numerous, I will simply refer you to the Building and Grounds report that Linda Petrasic put together. And finally, many of us have encountered changes in our health, finances, or employment that have greatly impacted us and have necessitated substantial pastoral care from both the clergy and the laity. Clergy aren't the only ones to do pastoral care. You care for each other in all kinds of ways. And then finally, growth. The fruit of all of this experimentation and learning and change is growth. I believe that the goal of St. Helena should not be to be polite and pleasant. I mean, I think you should be polite and pleasant to each other. But more importantly, to be authentic and honest, to be your true selves to each other and to the world. And I think this philosophy has served us really well over the past year, gifting us with several new members at the 9 a.m. Mass, which hasn't happened in forever, guiding us through the growing pains in the fall, creating a vibrant and well-attended Soul Kitchen faith discussion group on Wednesday nights, which I look forward to. It's one of my favorite times of the week. Generating record-breaking revenue for our Independence Day fundraiser. That was amazing, over $5,000. Feeding our neighbors with our new blessing pantry. And fostering an attitude I heard voiced by people at the end of December, especially Alex and others. Ismael said next year it'll be even better. Nuestro Señor de Guadalupe, el nacimiento, better, even better next year. And this year it was already amazing. Amazing. So that's my report. This is how I've seen this place over the last year. It has been a great blessing. Despite the moments of difficulty and despair and division, you have come out onto the other side of this so much stronger and I think closer for the experience. So I actually just want to applaud you and thank you for being this community. Thank you.